Our properties are going through it. Today, we are going to talk about how our rental properties are doing. And usually, we talk about like the benefits and the pros about real estate. But today, we are going to talk about like how sometimes it just doesn't all, it's not always all rainbows and butterflies. And both of us, with my co host, Lindsay, we're kind of like ending the year with a little bit of struggles. We're both kind of having a few hiccups, which is to be expected. And it's something that we want to share about because, a real estate investing is not always going to be smooth sailing. There's things that's going to pop up. And so we want to discuss about like how our properties have been doing and what we're going to do to move forward.
Yeah, and I think everybody goes into real estate with the conception that it's going to be, oh, passive income. I buy a house, I rent it out, and then wash and repeat. Yes, it could be true. You can make it your business so it's hands off, but it's not as easy as buying a stock or investing in the stock market. It takes strategy, it takes time, it takes dedication, and it takes a lot of problem solving. We know this because we're investing, at least me, for 3 years. And there's been so many problems during my whole journey that I had to just adapt and fix. For example, I think I mentioned in the past that the first year I started, I just purchased one home and that home got rented and I didn't have to do anything for a year. So I was just like, let's go and do this again. So I purchased my second home and then this one came with a little bit of more challenges, but it rented, right? So once I got more leverage and I was able to deploy even more cash into real estate because my journey had been so easy for the first year at least, I decided to go in deep down into burrs and into other major rehabs that needed definitely more care and more strategy for me. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in this episode.
I had the same issue as well. Like the first, I want to say like few years, I had my rental properties just like pretty easy. And then something happened. And then I switched over to buying multifamily. And then the first one was smooth sailing. I had a few like, obviously I had to like repair a few stuff off the bat and everything. But as far as cash flow, like it was good. But now I'm coming up on like year 4 basically. And now of course, things are coming up. And so I want to share my two properties. So I have 3 duplexes, and 2 out of the 3 right now are ones that I had to do something right now, right? I had to evict one tenant in one property, and in another one, I had just a regular turnover. Their lease was up, and they left, right? And so with that comes costs of doing a unit turnover, which is something that when you're doing your cash flow, you need to take into account. But it sucks whenever you have multiple at the same time. So the first one is a duplex that I bought in 2022. And this one has been kind of like a struggle to get going. The first year I had to update a few things, and it's just lessons learned on my part because I should have fixed some of these things and would have saved me the headaches later on. And then I had to evict a tenant from this property, and with the turnover I had to do a lot of maintenance things. Like I had to replace a door. There was like cabinet stuff, plumbing stuff, and like the clean out. I had to replace the carpet because it was pretty worn out. And I also had to replace some of the LVP in the bathroom. And so with that came at a cost, right? And so all in all, I'm at like 5,000 in this unit turnover, and that's not including like the eviction process, which is usually like around $400 from the court fees, and the property manager handles all of that. So they obviously charge me a fee for that. So that's not including that. I'm just doing kind of the unit turnover. So that might sound like wow, $5,000, there goes all the cash flow. But this person actually had stayed for quite some time, and I'm assuming something happened that all of a sudden they couldn't pay their rent. So then they had to just get evicted. And then the second one is kind of like something that I expected because when I purchased this property, this is a property that I bought in December. It came with two tenants in it. And then one decided to leave in around no, October. And with that, of course, also came a unit turnover. And I expected both tenants to move out. The first one moved out earlier in the year. And so I had a few minor things with that unit because that tenant had already kind of like cleaned it out and was pretty well. So I just had a few maintenance things that I had to do and some painting and stuff. And then with this one, because they were living in it a little bit longer, there was a few other things that I had to do. Also, like clean up some of the random things that I missed when I bought the house. The numbers are still coming out on that one, but so far I've had to replace like a thermostat that was like 270, and then the cleaning, of course, that one's not fully turned over yet. They're still working on it. The first one is already turned over, so that one's ready for a tenant to move in. So I'm hoping that by the end of the year there's someone living in there, but a lot of people don't like to move at the end of the year, especially during the winter. This is Milwaukee, so snow and all that stuff. Nobody wants to move in that. So I don't expect it to, but I might get lucky. And then the second one, because it's the first year, I give it some leeway because it's basically the stabilization year. So where I'm getting tenants in, one unit's already rented out and they're doing great. And then so now just waiting on this one to finish and hopefully we'll be done soon and hopefully that both gets rented out by the end of the year. But I don't know. We'll see. But again, that one I'm still waiting on the numbers, but I expect to I think on the estimates it was about 3,000 around there. On this one I had to fix a reverse polarity. Just the lines are crossed. So just some electrical work, things that I missed the first time. I went back and it's definitely in the property inspection. I just failed to fix it off the bat. So now it's getting fixed. I had to fix a window because of I think it was cracked or something. Four out of the six units are rented out, and those are doing well, even with the whole government shutdown and everything. They were able to pretty much pay their stuff a little bit late though, but it's kind of a trend with the neighborhoods that I am investing in. But they always, by the end of the year, everything's pretty much evened out. So Milwaukee also was pretty good that they were going to like pay still SNAP benefits and all that stuff. But now the government shutdown is over, so everything's back on track.
This is a teaching moment because I don't know what reverse polarity is. What is that?
So in the outlets, there's a certain way that the electrical current's supposed to go. And reverse polarity basically is they connected the wires to the wrong side. Now I'm not an electrician, and it's supposed to flow a certain way, so that way you don't shock people. So that is an electrical hazard, which will shock people. Well, has the potential of shocking somebody, which you don't want because that's a liability. In the inspection report, they'll check it. And it was easy for me to like overlook because I didn't pay attention on that. I was looking for like the bigger major things, but they'll usually put a picture and they plug in this little machine in it and it'll be like green or red and they'll tell you if it's wrong or if it's like ungrounded or whatever. So yeah, so basically I guess they just go in there and then just move the wires to the opposite side or whatever.
Now that you're mentioning your struggles, I'm like, I feel like I had the same struggles. The government shut down, right? So I do have three Section 8 vouchers tenants. I was trying to count. I have 13 units, 11 long-term rentals, one midterm rental, and one of the houses is a duplex. So 13 units. And then Currently, only 10 are rented. So I have three vacancies. One, it hasn't hit the market yet because I'm still burning. So two of them that are in the market, they've been hard to rent. And that's been its own struggle for me. But also during the government shutdown, I had three units that did not pay rent for month of October. So that created a negative on my balance sheet already for the month October, and then I'm catching up now in November. So that was just a recent struggle that I haven't even remember. Throughout the year, it's just been a lot of learning the process. For example, their markets are also winter dependent. Now that I'm having walking into winter with two vacancies, I'm not seeing the upside on that. I'm most likely going to have to sit these units for winter because it is true. Nobody rents during December and January because in my market already has started snowing. So there's really hard even for the burr that I have right now. Currently, I am waiting on connections. What one was water connection, the other one gas connection, electrical connection, and those things do not happen like during December. Even though they schedule it, they cancel it. So that's something that I keep of thinking that, like, for example, one of my last birth for the year, I need the last thing I need is a gas connection, and they said I was gonna be, and the next week, and I'm like, "It's December already, it's not gonna happen."
Yeah, that's the other thing. The holidays is one, so you're gonna have to like wait on that, and then yeah, the snow is gonna stop a lot. So I think that's the same reason why my properties have taken longer than usual because I would have expected them. Like one was done in October, early October. The tenant moved out, and I expected it to be already like turned over. And same thing with the other one was around the same time. So I'm like, but then yeah, it's wintertime and holiday season.
Yeah, and then in my market, according to what I've learned, is that you cannot run the water if you don't have the gas because it's so cold. The climate is so cold. The pipes are gonna freeze if I run just cold water. So I have to have gas connected in order to test everything that the rehab one done accordingly. For people that don't know, majority of my births have been abandoned houses that haven't had utilities connected for a long time. So all of the utilities need to be scoped out again and reconnected to the house in order to have gas, power, electricity, right? So those are one of the things that keeps me holding off. And then last year, I should have learned that I cannot do any more bursts during the winter. But since I've purchased too many bursts, this is just the last one. This is the only one that I'm running into the winter with. But definitely, it's been a lot. I learned a lot. I definitely have a close relationship with my property manager now because we talked to them almost weekly, if not more than weekly, like twice a week. But I think those are one of the things that I also learned. Like communication style with my property manager has been much better, but I think is only happened after I set an expectation with her and of like, I'm going to be calling you Mondays and Fridays, and I'm going to be following up on the things that we have pending. And so many people may think that's kind of like adding another job to your doc, but it is your business. So you do have to manage the managers. And that's another challenge that I had to overcome because I felt like I was being overbearing, but I just had to like deal with it. Because it's your business. It is you're deploying money, you're managing these properties. This is a business, and not to be rude or offensive whatsoever. No, but definitely delineate the expectations and follow through. Because if you just let go of like the not the reins, but if you just like don't follow through, things are gonna not gonna go down according to your timeline, and the person that's gonna end up being disappointed is you as the business owner. So definitely do have that. Another challenge that I have, I think I talked about, is that I bought a duplex top and down unit because I wanted to be like the multifamily girl again, like Violeta. I wanted one roof, two water heaters, two furnaces, the same roof, so I can have my expenses be less. But the top down units, and at least in my area, Gary, Indiana, do not work. I had so much trouble finding a tenant. This unit's been vacant since July. And because the top unit is a 3 bedroom, 1 bath brick building, and the top unit has not been rented. People don't want to rent it. Why? Because they don't want to go up the stairs. And I'm like, what? Like, you guys never live in an apartment? I live in an apartment plenty of times, but anyways, I think it is majorly because in my market there is a lot of supply. There are single family homes, and if you have a voucher or any kind of grant program, they'd rather have their own yard and their own space rather than do a duplex or triplex. I know that in your market it's well like marketed to have the units, but in my market I found that's not. So now that is a learning lesson for me. Another thing from that unit is that the top and down unit, they have stairs that are externals that do not have a covering. So one of the things I'm tackling right now, which I wouldn't consider it a bird, but it's like an expense for this unit, is demolishing the current stairs because they're not as safe as up to code it would be. But and then putting a covering, putting a roof, a shingle roof over it as well, so I can market that more safely to my tenants and people can actually go and check out the second unit on the top. That's been on the back of my mind. Thankfully, I underwrite the property so much so it covers its own mortgage, but I am not profiting whatsoever from that duplex, and it's just showing up as another vacancy in my Rolodex.
So I have a question because so yeah, I think it's more common in Milwaukee that the duplexes are top and bottom, and that's just there's so many duplexes like that. And but the thing with mine is they go in through a door, and so like the stairs are on the inside. But there's also a yard. So it's like does that duplex have like a yard or something, or is like a shared yard?
Yeah, it's a shared yard.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what mine has too. So I was wondering, but I think yeah, your problem is that you're competing with a lot of single family homes because yours are more in like the rural area or like
No,
smaller
it's not a rural
population.
area, a city central, but there is, I forgot the number, but like 50,000 abandoned like homes and Gary, Indiana. And so majority of the houses are unlivable, right? Because that is where the BRRRR opportunity comes in to like make the neighborhood better by repairing the unlivable houses. But there is a supply of single family in the same area. So when you're looking at your renter, they'd rather go for the single family that's like a little more expensive, but it is your own, like your own yard, your own entrance. You don't have to share walls, you don't have to share anything. So that is where I guess my thing lies. And yeah.
Yeah, because mines are still in the city, and so there's a lot of I guess competition for tenants. I think it's a well balanced. Last time that I checked was the rental market is pretty balanced. So would you get another multifamily or go back to just single family? Because yeah, it's
To go
compet-
back to single family, or I am in my head, I'm trying to. So I've done a lot of things over the last year, like BRRRRs, seller finance. I had inherited tenants. That's been the best experience for me because I don't have to turn over, I don't have to repair anything. And then just like they've been stagnant under low rent for a long time. So I just like slowly turn on the rent, not harshly, maybe like 50, $100 per tenant. And those properties, because I bought them at a good price too, that they're cash flowing, right? So they're cash flowing even though the rents are not market rents right now. And then so there's a lot of upside. And I didn't have to do a turnover as well. And the tenants have been there for years. So I don't really have a problem with those, which those have been the best. So I would do seller finance again, or I would move the money into an apartment. That would be my next step. But since I had so much work for the last year deploying money, I think when we're talking about our goals for 2026, I'm gonna stay put for a little bit because I also been doing the build to rent here kind of with my ADU. So I built construction for the last 8 months. So in my house, out of state, and then just money has been just leaving my bank account every month as much as I can. And I need to build up reserves. So that's one of my goals for next year.
I want to go back a little bit to you talked about like the Section 8. did they pay that already?
Like November 3rd, I think they came
Okay.
up to date.
Yeah, that's what I want some people to realize. Like, yeah, with Section 8 is the good thing is that once the government opens back up and everything, they'll give you the back pay and stuff. I'm still fighting mine for a little bit because somehow the wires got crossed where like that tenant moved out. That's the one that moved out like in October. But for some reason they had some paperwork saying June, and we're like, no, she moved out in October, and we sent in the paperwork. So my property manager has the paperwork that they sent in or whatever, but somehow, so that's still in the process to work on. So I gotta ping my property manager and see what's the status now that the government is back open, because I couldn't really do much on top of the government shutdown. So that's one thing I'm fighting, because that's another thing that has me kind of in the negative, was because I saw that in my report of the month. They sent me a monthly report, and I was like, what is this negative 1770 whatever? And I asked and everything, and it's like, oh, it's because they thought that the tenant moved back in June, and they left in October. So I think they had the paperwork for August, so I'm probably gonna lose September. I don't know, we'll see what happens, but they're going to try to get it from the tenant, and I'm hopefully they are just put on like a payment program, because that was a good tenant. Like they were good. She just, her lease was over, so moved on and didn't really have no problems with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, still fighting that. So that's another reason I'm going into the negative. So this year is just kind of like just one of those years that it is what it is. It's part of the business that sometimes you're just gonna have a low time, which you try to plan for, have an emergency fund, and just keep going. I just want to say that it is a normal thing. Nobody's journey is perfect. At one point or another, you're gonna face a bad year.
Or a bad month, or you're gonna have 4 good months and 3 bad months and things like that. But you do know that you're continuing to investing in major assets. You're providing housing for people that need it. You're not trying to like excruciate every single penny out of a tenant as well. You want to have reliable properties and like people a certain quality of life as well. We are here not trying to build wealth at the cost of a tenant, so build wealth because we have assets that are quality and we're renting them out.
That's our status update on our properties. We will definitely make a end of the year sometime in January, and we'll go more into the numbers of like how negative we are, or if we manage to kind of like squeeze in there and come out on the positive. I don't think I'm coming out on the positive, just because I had two turnovers and all that. But other than that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.